Jones is one of the greats, and he really, when he first started, he took everyone down and ground and pound, like destroyed them with elbows and ground and pound. And now he's kind of switched his style to staying on their feet. And I think,
do you really think it's that? Because I noticed, like, before he decided to bounce, the major difference that I fundamentally noticed is that all of a sudden the light heavyweight contenders matched his body type. So I don't necessarily feel that it was that he stopped taking them down, but once we hit kind of Gustafsson and then we get into all those other ones, all the guys that he started fighting were, 6'8", 6'9" as well.
No, honestly, I don't think that's what it is. I think when he was first coming up, his goal was to beat people the easiest way possible. It was just about winning. I think once he started winning and became champion, he developed this mindset of, I want to beat you at what you're good at.
Okay.
So if you look at the Gus fight, he kept the fight standing for most of it. But when you look at the rematch, because he took it down. Because he'd already beaten Gus at his strength, now he wanted to beat Gus at his strength. It was the same thing when he fought DC. He even stated his goal was to out-wrestle DC. And he took DC down a couple of times in their first fight. In the second fight, his goal wasn't to beat DC at wrestling, it was just to beat DC. And he obviously had that stand up, and he had the left kick in his mind.
I know he said that. Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about, because if you look at Gus one and Dom Ray's fight, those are arguably the two I'd say he lost despite winning on the scorecards.
Yeah, and again, they were both fights that he wanted to fight at their strength and beat them at what they're good at. And I think that's part of the reason why I don't think he will get the recognition for being as good as he is, because he's not like GSP was different. GSP knew what he was good at, and his goal was to implement his game plan regardless what the other person wanted to do.
And when he didn't, he paid for it by Sarah.
Yeah, it was different. It was, yeah, absolutely. But then you look at Jones, as I said, at the start, absolutely dominating. And then suddenly he's fighting people at their strengths. And people are saying, oh, he's not as good as he used to be. And I disagree. I think he was as good. And I think because he's so good, he was willing to put himself out of his comfort zone to win. And I don't think a lot of people will appreciate what he did for that, because he's such a head case. Because he does have so many issues outside of the cage, people take that to believe he's not as good as he was in the cage. And I actually believe those issues out of the cage are probably why he tries to do what he does in the cage. I think he's trying to prove he's the best by beating people at what he's not good at, but what they're good at. And I think that's part of his head case position. Like he has, I mean,
maybe I also find it hard to get in, and besides what you talk about what he does outside of I find it these days, outside of where there's drama with guys like DC, it's very, very hard to get excited about a John Jones fight, because the challengers tend not to pressure him too much. So it follows this tempo where John is going to get the best of him by round 2, 3, or 4, somewhere along those lines. Like I was just rewatching the Anthony Johnson fight, and there's just really, effectively from the opening bell, he's on the back foot. You're not really watching it's not like the lighter classes where they're really going head to head, or what we're kind of seeing out of the heavyweight division at the moment.
Yeah, no, look, I agree. And I think that's a lot to do with his dominance and his ability. And again, part of the problem when you're trying to fight at someone else's strengths is he's not able to pressure to the same way as if he was fighting as his strength. As I said, when you look at the rematches he has, extremely dominating and much more exciting. But when you look at the fights, when he fights someone as the first time after about the first couple of defenses, I'm trying to think, after Rampage.
Was it Machida after that, or was that?
Yeah, I think from Machida onwards, he started fighting people at their strengths after he'd kind of pretty much crushed most of the people that were in front of him. He started going, I'm going to beat you what you're good at. That's why he took that on Charles Sonnen, and why he stayed standing with Gus, why he wrestled with. Because when you kind of look at it back and actually look at how he fights these people, it makes more sense. When you watch it at the time, it doesn't. It just to the uninformed or the unaware is probably a better term. For the unaware, it looks like he's struggling.
Yeah,
And that's what people are. He struggled. No, he didn't struggle. He's trying to beat them at their game. So he's not going to look as dominant or as good as he would be if he put it his way. So I don't know. I think it's going to affect his legacy a little bit. Maybe in the future, people will look back and be able to, when they look at it that way, get a better understanding for what he did. It kind of, but again, it's going to be overshadowed by a lot of what's happened outside of the cage and whether he ever gets back into the cage again.
I think he'll definitely come back. I think the photos seem to showing that he's definitely trying to get beyond 265 to move in, and he looks like he's getting close to that. But